live
YouTube
starts collecting questions.
All right.
4 or 5 minutes before.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of these are that.
I think they can submit as soon as we schedule it.
It's
on
It
YouTube.
must be because these
It's
are
some-
4 minutes old.
Yes.
It must be.
Yep. All right.
The YouTubers are pretty good at getting the questions.
Is Facebook showing live?
Facebook is showing as live. Instagram is not.
Instagram should be.
Fresh.
It says going live. It's dragging.
Close.
We get our faces up here too. There you go.
Give us 1 sec. We're trying to get to Instagram.
Doing Instagrammy things
I see your faces.
on the Instaface.
No.
I was struggling.
So what I've noticed is Facebook tends to be 30 seconds ahead of all other platforms.
I can reduce the latency on
Yeah.
on YouTube. It's just their default
Yeah, that's
latency.
totally interesting.
Instagram's definitely not cooperating with me.
Instagram video on Nate's.
Dude, this Real Adam Rose is amazing.
That's just a really funny meme.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the guys that are just like looking and it's just like disaster things happening, and then the construction site ones are so good.
He does a ton of them, and he's got his own likes. You know, he's an actor. But
There's like the original guy that started doing them. He's kind of like, I don't know. It's not full on Indian, but he kind of looks a little.
okay, no, I think just Instagram on here is just completely being a turd.
It's a face.
I know this is throwing content for you guys.
Yeah, so we're just getting going. Bear with us.
What car did you drive on this weekend?
The
What do you talk
Beamer.
about? Okay. You have to be a bit. How do you like that?
Slipping and sliding all over
I'm
yesterday.
sure it was. It was
Tanza was
greasy out there.
having a great time.
Yeah, she really appreciates it.
It's like, hold on. She's just like, is this okay? I'm like, yes, everything's fine.
But I always get the, did you mean to do that?
Yes. Yeah. Like, why is everyone else going so much slower? Like, I don't know. They can't drive. They're terrible at driving. I don't know.
Poor
what
life
to tell you.
choices.
Like, I could have gone twice as fast through there.
Bear with me, I'm just recreating our Instagram.
No, that car's way too good. It's depressing.
Yeah, it's that car was recently talked about as like one of the most underrated used cars.
It is, and we have like a product line that wakes it up even more. But it's really good. And I love like the traction control settings. How much more refinement you get. You know, there's like sport plus,
To like those red.
sportgasm, and then Kli-MAX mode.
Putting that button in.
They should.
Wow, I don't know, guys. Instagram is struggle bus today.
Okay, why don't I start, and then you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and get Instagram spinning up while we're doing these.
All right. Sorry about the delay. We're 6 minutes in.
I know.
Let's talk about BMWs.
So 034 Motorsport live chat. We're here to answer all your questions about all things 034 Motorsport. Anything you want to know about our products, our services, our history. Try not to burp too much in the background. We take a no BS approach to responding to questions. And we're just not a lot about BS here and gimmicks. Someone was messaging me this morning about like, oh, you should do this product. A lot of other companies do it. They make a lot of money, and it's a gimmick, but you could probably make a lot of money doing it. And it's like that's not the kind of money.
Not our
we
jam.
make. Yeah. We would like to make lots of money selling substantive products, but and so our feedback and the way we talk about things is driven by that sensibility as well. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart. Nate's trying to get Instagram going.
I'm trying. It is
Have you tried restarting?
it's not cooperating. I restarted all of Instagram.
Yeah, maybe Instagram should restart their server. So yeah, put your questions in, and we will do our best to get through all the questions. If you ask a question about an update or when something's going to be available, we may not touch base on that. Or try to prioritize questions about actual things, and we don't always have good answers for the other things, for the updates. Someone's asking anything coming for the S3 8V as far as stage 3 ethanol tunes. I've been running your Stage 2 ECU TCU, and I love it. Definitely something we're talking about. No promises on when.
So these are the sneaky updates because we
Yeah,
talked about
this
this.
is an
He
update.
snuck it in the loving or tune.
Mm-hmm. I know, so I had to read it. Hang in there. We're definitely going back to that generation of tuning and
Yes,
making
yes.
updates. So there will be, at minimum, updates coming, revisions, adding some of our newer, more modern tuning. I don't know, our
Ethos or
tuning
knowledge base
specifics and knowledge and tuning strategies to well. This is like that one time I spilled coffee and you didn't wipe it up with very much confidence.
That's true.
So yeah, stay tuned for like Mark 7 generation CMOS stuff. Suffering with a dilemma. I have a 2014 Mark 7R with a lot of suspension mods, KWV3034 shock mounts, sway bars, ball joints. Thoughts on moving to a club sports? The V3s are very good if you have them set up right. That's what we always talk about. Is it's not so much the coil over; it's how you set it up. We used to sell KW stuff. We stopped a few years ago.
Yeah, I used to run.
But the club sport stuff's very good. It's definitely a step up over the V3s, just as far as like the damping and valving quality.
Yeah, I ran club sports in my older AP A3 and loved them.
It's definitely a very good, type shock to use for track driving and racing. They can be set up to handle very good and not feel overly stiff. So it's definitely something to think about. I can't recommend it specifically, but there are some benefits if you want to kind of go to the next level of damping. That could be a good option for you. Recommendations for data logging when you believe everything is running properly: speeds, gears, load, duration, etc. Do we have like anything for people to read about that?
We did have some how-tos on, but that usually comes from like customer service when we're looking for data. It's going to be vehicle dependent on what we're kind of looking for. I'd say general consensus would be a from 2000 to redline third-year pull, depending on the car. But that's generally going to be a good baseline to get some data, and wide open throttle for that. So unless you're trying to capture something specific, some oddity of some part load thing, if you just want to get a quick health check, that's probably going to get what we need. And I still cannot get Instagram to.
I'm posting on our story saying to go to YouTube.
Yeah, it's everything's streaming to it, but they're not picking it up.
Is there a place that people are at on Instagram right now, or it's just
no, because there's no notification. You can't like create an event that they can see until it just goes live.
Yeah.
Can you make the ZF8 part shift more?
If you wanted to shift a lot slower, that torque reduction strategy is the air path torque reduction, which is a slower method of shifting.
They go on to say the Stage 2 tune will give a little toot between 2, 3, 4, but it leaves me wanting more.
Yeah. That when you start hearing that is actually a fairly slow engine speed reduction compared to what you can do, and also the torque control from the transmission. So
unfortunately, our philosophy when it comes to shifting is silent but deadly. Yeah, so you're just gonna have to enjoy the relief without all the sound.
Yep.
What are some maintenance items I should replace if I'm going Stage 3 for B9.5 T, currently only at 30,000 miles? Definitely want to, at this point, we don't have our upgrade out yet, but you want to check your factory PCV hose and make sure that's in good working order. I would make sure you've done all factory maintenance. It's a good idea to put in new plugs. You could put in new injectors, which you probably will be doing anyways. Like I said, oil change, all service and maintenance. Anything else that you can think of, Nate?
Oh, sorry, I'm completely in another zone here, trying to get Instagram up and running.
Anything that people are doing?
Is this what platform?
B9 Stage 3 maintenance items before they.
PCV hose.
PCV stuff.
I already said that.
If you haven't done your thermostat or have no idea, water pump rather.
Yeah,
the water pump thermostat housing
Yep.
assembly.
Folks go packs, of course.
Said all that already.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good starting point. It probably wouldn't hurt to have like a blog, or something
that's being written.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Any additional info you can provide about the MRA 1900? How is the tuning logging process going?
It's going well. We've hold on. It's a lot of technical difficulties. It's just trying to get time on it on various platforms. So we've got obviously a lot of time the 8.4 right now on our in-house car with the given setup that it's on right now. But ideally, before we go to like a full public ready launch, we'd like to get more data on a much more standardized setup on like B8.5 and ideally a more normal, I guess you could say 8.4 without cams and stuff in it. So it's just getting that data collected and ready to go. So we've got a rock solid file for all the use cases that it's going to be put through.
034 B9 S4 gas and oil caps in the work. Yes.
Gas
well, oil cap for sure. This is the engine oil cap. We have. It's the same basic billet oil cap as we currently have for our B8, but it's a much tighter fit. The earlier cars like the B8s have a different valve cover provision where it's the same oil cap between both cars, but the earlier cars have a different kind of detent click that the newer B9 stuff does not have. So as such, we even though our B8 oil cap will fit in the B9, we do not recommend it because it's not tight enough by our opinion / measurements. We've actually tested the amount of torque it takes to loosen the oil cap and designed a oil cap that requires much more force to remove. This is simply because of however many cases there have been, including in our own car, where the factory oil cap is loosened and fallen off. Mm-hmm. So we will be very pleased to release our B9 oil cap, which will be functional to the extent that it will be a very tight fit. We will even offer some 3D print files, so you could 3D print your own little oil cap wrench. I'm a woodworker, and so I will also post plans to make your own out of wood too. You can just go in the garage and glue some pieces of wood together. I made one out of some exotic hardwoods that's very beautiful. That we'll show. But you can have some fun with that stuff too. But the main goal will be to have a very tight fitting oil cap that may even need a little extra help, especially when it's hot.
I was not paying attention to that. I don't know how you went from hardwood to oil cap.
Mm-hmm.
Go with that.
So that's find out.
That's we watch this.
We have lots of questions I've already answered. If we can clear those out. Let's see.
I think Instagram is.
What's a when fire tuned B9 S4?
What's a question? When fire tuned B9 S4?
So it's an update question. They're looking for advanced launch something.
But when is like WHEN?
Welcome to Gen Z.
I just don't understand. It's just not. It's not.
Have you seen the meme of 3 apes sitting on a set for a TV show, like a Good Morning America thing? That is the meme format. They just say when and ask one word question.
Okay,
I'm not aware of that. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm sorry that I know that.
It's now consuming brain space.
All right, we still have lots of questions we need to clear
up.
Do you guys test tunes in cold weather? B9 3.0 T Stage 1, cold weather snow, spinned wheels a bit and got Jackie Chang with transmission malfunction, engine overspeed. The tune is TC. Is this another Gen Z thing I don't know about? Jackie Chang?
Yeah. Jackie Chan.
Cell? is?
Check engine light.
Check engine.
Yeah,
Oh, I know that. I'm just trying to see, like, what does that have to do with?
It sounds like you got maybe an over rev or something. If you're on like sheet ice and just whacking rev limiters, like just banging through the gears, I'm guessing that's what happened. I don't honestly know, but yes, we do a bunch of various climate testing. Cold weather is certainly one of them.
Well, we have the Sierra Nevada mountains. We can drive up to 8,000 feet, which in like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And snow almost year round if we want it. So yeah, we do. Our calibrators actually do have a route in the Sierra Nevadas that they drive. We also do hot weather testing. That we have the Central Valley.
Oh, I see what they're saying. Okay, so they're saying this is just with the TCU patch. So this isn't even with our TCU 5.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's honestly within the stock TCU that you got that error. We don't do anything with the rev limiter within the stock TCU, obviously, because it's not flashed. That's just a function of the stock TCU is unable to shift quick enough. And given the same conditions on a stock ECU, it probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah, and that's a factory function. Just warns you that you should be careful.
The engine revs, I want to say they're fairly tight to the stock rev limiters on those, so it doesn't take much to make it angry if you're on a loose low traction surface.
EA888 messed up ground stud for coil pack. Can it affect misfires?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those grounds need to be very functional.
Yep.
Electrically speaking, it's required for the coil to function.
All of the coil energy is through that that ground plane. So none of it really comes through any of the harness itself.
Yeah, I don't know what's messed up about it. You could relocate it to a different fastener on the engine. It just needs to be bolted tightly to the valve cover or to a piece of aluminum on the engine. Another thing, in the old days, we used to just run heavy gauge wire to all the grounds and just connect them together so that the electricity doesn't necessarily have to flow through the block. Because sometimes the block wasn't the best from the valve cover down to the engine block. Electricity didn't flow, with the least resistance that it could.
Yeah, so. You don't have like a controlled ground path. You're dealing with like it's probably through the head studs or bolts.
That's right.
So,
you've got
there's gaskets in between everything. So
oil and stuff. So connecting everything with you can just get some 14 gauge or 12 gauge wire and just connect all that stuff together.
Ground kits used to be a thing.
Yeah. As on New Dimensions, I developed these. They were called MOA wiring kits, massive overkill wiring harness, and it was a whole really nice 4 gauge and 8 gauge wires to really clean up the grounds. And in a lot of cases, it would help cranking. Engine would start faster. A lot of stuff. I know on the i5s too, that especially with the battery relocation.
Oh, dude, yeah, those things were rough. The stock wiring wasn't quite up for that.
Yeah, well, I remember once I ran the ground through the frame rail, and the car would barely start.
Oh yeah, if you just grounded it,
and I just got jumper cables, from one end of the car to the other, and fired right up, and so I just ended up running a wire the whole way. So that's a good example of that frame rail is a lot of spot welds and things like that, and just the resistance just builds as you go. So. Yep. But in most cases, you don't need to do that. As long as you have a good factory functionality, you'll be fine. Will you guys try with Nate's B8 shop car to achieve a full interior stock blower non-port but full bolt-on record vehicle?
That's a very specific. So, what's a full bolt-on is because it's got cams in it and stuff now, or we have to take the cams out.
No, those are bolt-on.
Also, as a ported blower, where does that end? We can strive for whatever.
Yeah, I guess
Which TCU do you want? Or which transmission?
Which
transmission do you want in the car? Because it's different if you do B8, B8.5. Which bolt-ons do you want? Which brakes do you want? I have big track setup brakes. So do we bolt on A4 brakes like some people do?
Yeah, and there's a comment that says B8 owners of a certain tuning company say that owners who have drag radials, race seats don't count. This is not a new thing. You can go back 15 years of people arguing about what records count and what's valuable and what isn't. And It's usually, these debates are usually pretty biased by what tuning company you support and what that particular tuning company did. If that tuning company gutted the car and ran nines, with nitrous, then those fanboys would support that, and then they would poo-poo on, for example, a company like us that was running like
Just
basically street trim,
different, yeah.
street trim vehicles with minimal weight reduction and street tires and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't really care if you go. If you run nines and the car's gutted and you got whatever done, you just need to list it.
Yeah, you ran nines with that setup.
And if you ran a 10.8 on a full street car with a baby seat in the back, then say it. It doesn't. There's no need to poo poo or
you don't have to disqualify other people's runs because of what
you're disqualifying. It's like, okay, well, as long as you're comparing like to like and you're being transparent about what the modifications are, that's really all that matters. So I would say if anyone wants to poo-poo anyone, it should be for being disingenuous about what was done to them.
Yeah, if they're trying to slip, some extra mods through that people find out about afterwards. Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, a full bolt-on, what does that mean? Right now, my full bolt-on setup is making it slower for the quarter mile because of, track prep stuff, and I've got monster brakes on there. And
I'll just say, from my perspective, and I ultimately set the priority of a lot of this stuff. I'm not really interested in going on and trying to break records on the Merc Racing blower. That's something that Merc Racing should be doing. Merc Racing customers.
Yeah, this particular was with a stock non-ported, like going even to like not even a ported blower.
What people want to see to cut through what this guy's veiled question is see a 034 car with minimal mods run a 10-second quarter mile.
Yeah,
that is the current thing that people, for whatever reason, believe doesn't happen, but we just did it all 2 or 3 years ago, and our customers are off doing more different things.
Yeah, I see.
So. Yeah, we have thousands of customers running these tunes. Right?
Yeah,
so, and
the B8 group just doesn't have a good drag sheet like the RS.
No, yeah, that and
why don't we get one? Why don't we make one?
We can start.
We tried to make one a year ago, and half the people were unwilling to submit things. So
that's
invalidated by the community.
Right.
It'll have our
tricky because when
and then anyone's welcome to put up against.
Yeah, when a lot of that was going down too, it was like draggy didn't count either. It was all like actual drag.
If you don't count draggy, then
well, that was back in the. Now it does, but
there's an Audi zine thread that has been abandoned for quite some time that used to have slips, but people won't resubmit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Kli-MAX?
Certainly could.
Yeah, we're just looking for some beta testers now. So.
All right, so we are looking for Kli-MAX beta testers. What this means is that we have basically completed the development and testing internally to the best of our ability with the in-house resources that we have. So the next step or phase of development is bringing in more vehicles, different types of cars, different types of driving,
different setups, different
environments, conditions, setups, different box codes and things like that.
Yep.
And this is specifically for B8.5 vehicles only.
Yeah, we're starting on 8.5. That's where all the development has been wrapped up currently. 8 will be shortly thereafter. We'd like to focus on 1, get out to all the.
So if you are interested in testing this upcoming file before it's released, please email social@034motorsport.com. That's like social as in social media.
Yeah.
Social at with the following information in the same format. If you fail to include this information, you will not be considered for testing.
You're going to bullet point this whole thing.
It's already been posted.
Yeah, it's been posted up on.
So there's I won't go through it, but and I'm just highlighting that there's various requirements that you would need to follow. As with all types of testing and beta testing, it needs to be very confidential. All information needs to only be between us.
Yeah. So with any development stuff, I actually just had a conversation with somebody about that this morning. We try and cut down the signal to noise ratio, and it's just like we need to talk to you directly about anything that's going on, so we can really quickly just work through questions, setups, changes, anything that we want. This basically brings you into basically the inner circle, you could say, of direct support. And what happens if it's an example. Someone will look at the list of files in the server and not know which one to flash exactly. Go post about it on social media somewhere, and then they get 15 different answers from people that don't even know what these people are working with us on. And then I get contacted by my tech support team internally, social guys, everything, and it just turns into this massive waste of time for this pre-release or beta program. So
the entire point of beta testing is for you to help us.
Yeah,
sorry, it's a kind of a very selfish thing.
You get a sneak peek at what the final revisions are going to be looking like.
The benefit to you is you'll get a free thing and you'll get it before anyone else. Yep. But it's for us to benefit from an engineering and information development standpoint. Yeah. So if we're not benefiting from you being involved in it, then why would we ask you to do it?
Right. Yeah, we're not forcing anybody to.
Otherwise, just wait till it comes out and pay for it like everyone else, and you can do whatever you want.
If you don't have the tune already, yeah.
It's a free update for those that have all of our tunes.
Yeah. But I'm just saying you can wait like everybody else, and then you can say whatever you want about it, and you can talk about it, and you can do all the things that you would like to do with it at that point. But at this point, it's not. But yes, this will be a free update. Can I test Kli-MAX tune on my girlfriend?
Yes.
Yeah, I highly recommend that. Yeah, see what she thinks. Can I test Kli-MAX in my 2013 S4 here in Colorado?
Very likely, if you want to go through the...
But that's a B8.
No, 2013.
Is it? Okay. That's a B9.5.
But yeah, just go through the requested prerequisites, and if you want to work with us, absolutely.
How does your Kli-MAX launch strategy compare with the current B8 launch strategy?
So it's the actual launch itself isn't really that much different. The launch is not what the primary change was. It's in the gear changing and clutch controls around the shifting after the launch. So there's a number of things that changed, but primarily we reduced or eliminated the ability for the gear drop phenomenon. We sussed that out, fixed that. That's going to be the absolute biggest affecting change, because that enables us to then go and turn the AMAX functions on, which we didn't do across the board, and we turned them off in a number of boxes because with wildly varying setups, traction, and launch methods that people were doing, you could get into a situation where you would hit gear drop pretty consistently if you get enough wheel spin, or if your tire setup was in whatever situation. Anyway, there's some mathematical errors within the stock software that caused that, and we had to go in and find and fix those. So yeah, that lets us turn AMAX on entirely from the start. There are a bunch of other updates that I've been working on in the background as well around this. We also have a bunch more clutch controls with more pressure, more, you're going to notice like lightning fast shifts. I think one of the bigger things I want feedback on is the, are the shifts too fast now kind of thing?
The aggressiveness.
At like wide open throttle, like third, fourth shifts, like you're going to feel it is instant. You don't get like the shift and the wavering after, and the transmission trying to catch the gear. It's just bam into the next gear, and you're up and moving.
We like in some of these high performance jets, they can turn so hard that it can kill the pilot. So
yeah, hopefully we're not.
I don't want anyone to die from.
Keep your head against the headrest. But another big one that I was just wrapping up some testing on was the short shift issue too. If you get into like a wheel slip event. So like corner exit on track, it'll do this a lot if you're in a lower gear and you get any wheel spin coming out of the turn. The TCU is going to be like, oh gosh, I need to shift now. And it'll shift at like 5,000 or 6,000. It'll short shift a ton. That looks like it's all resolved now as well on some of these other updates we did in there. So,
which means you can power out of corners.
Yeah, I didn't realize how. It's been really easy to test now with all the rain and the horrible weather we've been having. Just how transformative that is now, because you get this like first, second, and third gears that just hold now right up to the shift point. So it should be a fun update for everybody.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be awesome. That's why we called it Kli-MAX.
Yeah,
there's just no other name.
You covered that second question. So.
Yeah. So.
Let us know if you have any further questions about Kli-MAX. But yes, once we're done with this beta phase, then we should be really close to releasing.
Is there a reason B8 isn't testing yet? Is the question.
Oh, nothing other than it's a different software architecture in the processor itself. So it's just a matter of getting those files set up and going. All of the changes and whatnot.
We don't need beta testing for that.
Yeah,
we use beta testing
No,
sparingly as needed. And if there's nothing we really need from B8, then there's no.
Yeah, we'll let you know. But it's the same. The changes will be the same. The core, like you don't want to get too nitty gritty, but the core operating principles of the transmission software are the same. But between the B8 and the B8.5, they changed some compiler settings between the two, and that makes some of the patching and some of the work a little different. And just have to set up the software a little bit differently. But that's completely transparent to how it actually works.
Yeah.
Someone with a CREC S5 DL5.
Yeah, we should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. I have all of the B8.5 stuff with CREC included set up in testing now.
Someone's asking about these B9 rear shock mounts. That's what they are. So this is just one of our density line product offerings. This is basically a factory B9 strut mount that we've remanufactured. We haven't rebuilt it. This is manufactured as new with a stiffer durometer rubber. So if you put this side by side to the factory rear shock mount, dimensionally, it's virtually identical. The only difference is that the rubber inside here is now much stiffer. So this bushing now features our density line rubber with an increased stiffness. I don't really recommend running out and just swapping these into the back of your car. You could, but the benefit here is, like, if you're doing springs, you're in there doing something on your suspension, and you have your shock mounts out, definitely put these in. You're not necessarily gonna feel a huge difference in the way the car handles. However, this is a stiffer, more solid mounting point, and so you will receive the benefit of more precise function of your damper. So when your damper is functioning, there's basically the bottom part and the top part, which is attached to the car, and then you have the valving, which is on the shaft. And any movement up here is basically distortion to how your shock is damping the movement of the suspension. So the goal here is to give the top of the shock a more solid mounting point so that it can more precisely dampen the movements of your rear suspension. So you will realize slightly better suspension function with our stiffer rubber bushings in here. They're not that expensive, easy upgrade while you're in there type thing. So part of our product line, and you will see that silkscreen in here with the 034 logo and our part number. This is something we make. This isn't a factory. A lot of times our stuff looks so much like the factory version that people think we're just like relabeling a factory mount. That's absolutely not the case. And we cut these open so you can see that they are solid inside. There's no fluid. And the rubber is substantially stiffer than the factory, but not so stiff that it's going to transmit a lot of NVH. These are available now in stock on our website, ready to ship. If you place an order for these right now, there's a very good chance it will ship in the next few hours. So, all right. If you have any questions on the density line B9 rear shock mounts, fits all B9s as far as I know. But all the applications are listed on the website. All right, let's get back into some questions here. B9.5 S4 Stage 3 recently switched from E85 file to E60. Been right at E65. Is that okay? I know E60 to E70 is acceptable range, but just curious if it's better to be closer to E60 than E70. I would say the closer to E60, the better. That gives your fuel system a little bit more capacity. The more ethanol you're running, the more fuel you need. And so it stresses the fuel demand of the system a little bit. But I don't think there's a problem running E65. But I think if you are doing the mix and you can get closer to E60, that's probably the sweet spot. You agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So there's you're not benefiting from the extra 5% ethanol. Other than that, it's probably
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. There's going to be no like mapping changes or performance changes with that.
But you just need, I don't know, whatever it comes out to, 3% more fuel or some small amount, based on the extra 5. And again, E70 will work, but you're pushing the fuel demand that much closer to full E85. And the main performance power difference between our E85 file and our E60 file is due to the fact that we can maximize fuel system capacity due to the increase of gasoline versus ethanol. Do you think one would be able to upgrade an SQ5 with power, brakes, chassis, and some added weight to be able to tow similar to the tow rating of a Q7, 4,400 pounds versus 7,000 pounds?
No.
Well, we don't recommend it. Anecdotally, we have an employee here who, to be fair, does lots of stupid things, and he's towed 6,000 pounds with his SQ5 and didn't die.
Adding weight is not a way to increase your tow capacity. No. It's all your gross vehicle weight and all that is very much a factor in all this. So ballast is not what keeps it or lets you tow more.
Well, and the Q7's a bigger car. It has a stronger frame and chassis.
Yeah. And as a reference to that too, the Q7 has a 7,000. If I'm remembering correctly, Q7 is 7,000 pounds. The Touareg version of the same chassis is 7,700 pounds because it doesn't have a third row and some extra weight back there. So they actually have to reduce the tow capacity on the Q7 a bit because it's a little heavier than the Touareg.
But the Q7 comes from Audi, designed to tow 7,000 pounds.
Yeah. The fixture points on the chassis and all that are completely different than what you'd find on a Q5.
Yeah, I mean, I did it and then I snapped 2 of the 4 bolts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Yes. No.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah.
It's not recommended.
The way that it's mounted, it is not safe. Like there's stuff that I can do to make it safer, but it still just
should not be.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean,
stay within the factory tow rate.
So this said employee, who's not very smart,
we won't mention who it is,
actually had fasteners on his tow hitch brake. So
mounting to the
So stick to the 4,400 pounds. And honestly, Q7s are fucking cheap now. You can buy one for like 20 grand.
Yeah,
like a 4-year-old Q7. So I would do that and not die. Plus, it's a bigger car that's going to tow much more comfortably.
Yeah. The wheelbase.
I understand the B9 3.0 has a lot more torque than B8, but does the throttle response of the B8 SQ5 4M Q7 also lend itself to drivability while towing?
And more towing questions.
Or would torque still be important? So I have a good reference on this. I have a 4M Q7, and my girlfriend has a 4M.5 Q7, and the throttle response is noticeable. It's dramatic. I don't normally care about turbo lag and lack of responsiveness with turbo motors, but when I get out of one car and get into the other, it's shocking. And the 4M, just that instantaneous throttle response and those adjustments you can make are very noticeable. I think that would probably be nice for towing, but it's not a must-have. But I think the torque to like get up hills and stuff would be very nice.
Yeah.
But you're just gonna have to wait an extra half a second, for some of that turbo responsiveness to kick in. But I think like a 4M Q7 with especially our upcoming Stage 1 would have no trouble towing up hills and stuff. It's a fast car. It's got it's a quick car. It's a lot of power, plenty of power. But Tanza's Q7 is noticeably torquier and just.
Oh yeah, they have a lot more mid-range.
Yeah. Someone's asking when I will be starting the Chilli. It's a good question. So, what I will do is I will go shopping on Thursday and buy. I think it's going to be probably 75 pounds of basically pot roast or like beef chuck. This is like a tough cut of beef that has a lot of fat marbling and a lot of like connective tissue in it, which is what we want. And then I'm going to, on Friday, I will put that on the stove. I have 2 pots that I use for this. They're both about, I think they're probably 10 gallons each, maybe. And then I fill them both up with beef. I fill it with water and salt. and some seasonings, and then I just braise those all day long for like 6-7 hours over like a slow medium heat. And that's basically a slow braise, which just breaks the meat down and really softens and tenderizes it. And most importantly, gives me this really nice beef broth to use for the chili the next day. And thankfully, it's cool enough this time of year. So then I take the beef out, I break the beef down, I remove any kind of chunks of fat or anything that are still left, which there's usually not much. Sometimes there's kind of like some silver skin in there and stuff. I remove all that, so every bite is appetizing and edible. And then
It's a good goal.
I put all the meat, which I usually end up having probably 30 pounds of cooked pot roast in the fridge, and then I'll pour all the broth into one pot, and then I'll put it outside. Which at night now gets down to like 30s and 40s, and I'll just leave that up. But I have these 30-pound dumbbells I put on top of it, otherwise like an animal could get in there. And then the next morning, I load it all up in the car with all the other ingredients, and I drive to 034, and I make it here on site in a 30 gallon.
It's like more than 30 pounds.
30 gallons. It's about this big and this tall. There's a picture of me online holding it. And I think once it's full of chili, that pot probably weighs close to 200 pounds.
Yes.
So, and we go through the whole thing pretty much every year. So that's this Saturday. Love to feed you. Would love to come out. We serve the chili with
Fixins.
with grated cheddar cheese, with like tortilla chips or Fritos and chopped jalapenos.
Jalapenos too.
Yeah.
What else do we do besides chili?
The chili.
I have no idea.
Yeah, the chili's like
And apparently there's other things that go on here.
We'll be giving tours of the facility.
Is there like a bikini competition?
There's a dyno competition.
Dyno shoot off,
Dyno thing, yeah.
dyno exhibition, tours, factory tours by Nick. Nick's tour will be about certain things. Gary's will be about a lot of bills and materials,
spreadsheets,
Sage ERP type processes and procedures. So I like sit in on Gary sometimes. I'm just like, Gary, nobody knows.
You're too deep.
They have no idea what you're talking about.
It's just me.
Is it? Oh, Gary's not.
Yeah, for the last 2 years.
Oh, okay. Gary should do them too.
He's great at them, but yes, it's a different side of the business, the operations.
I haven't done one in years either.
If you enter the car show, you are eligible to potentially have your car dynoed, and we still have some spots available.
That's right. If you have a car and you'd like to be in the car show, it's only $25 to register, and it could win you a free dyno run.
Yep.
Where's this? Is this on the social media? Where is on like 034 Motorsport Facebook page? Or
To enter
the deets.
The deets on this like dyno
Yeah,
show thing.
it's both on our Facebook and on the product page to buy.
Oh, yeah. So if you go to our website and you go to the
Search Winterfest.
the Winterfest registration, there's information about the car show contest there on our 034 Motorsport Facebook page, as well as our Instagram. Did we post about it on our Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's all there. All right.
Yeah, and to be clear, you just need to register for the car show. Anybody can show up for the festivities.
If you want a chance to win things.
Hello, 034 Motorsport. Will you consider making some Aero parts, functioning diffuser, front splitter, brake cooling ducts, performance parts for trackday enthusiasts for continuous abuse? We would love to. We have made some stuff like that in the past. The problem is it's a very small market, and things like the brake ducts, which are sorely needed, are really complicated parts to develop. Very limited demand out there for something like that. Can be very expensive and likely require permanent modifications to the vehicle, which is not really something we do now.
Yeah.
Virtually anything you buy from us is a bolt-on, is totally reversible, and this is important for us from the point that many of our customers nowadays are leasing their vehicles, and so we need to be able to completely convert that car back to stock, just like it came from the factory, and all of our products do that. A lot of this stuff, like these density mounts, you just leave in.
They're stock.
they're basically, they'll pass
Function
for
number
factory parts. But so Audis, virtually all the Audis that every Audi I've ever driven except an R8 needs brake ducting on track. And even when you have the biggest brake kit possible, the heat is still an issue. So
even the R8 though had the backwards veined rotors, right? Depending on
from the factory,
yeah.
Right side.
Yeah.
So we still had to fix that. Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is once we had
better,
our rotors and track pads, you could lap for 30 minutes,
right,
hard as you want.
And we talked about this some last week too. Doing any kind of body involved parts is just, you're dealing with every trim level then too, not just like a B9. You're dealing with like an early B9 or a B9.5 or the S model, the S packaged with a different bumper and fog light profile. So there's a ton of different hoops and hurdles and issues you gotta work around for it's at a very low volume thing.
Well, and how what I'm saying is true is you go out into the market and nobody else offers these parts either. It's for the same reason. So, but like our RS5 has our brake kit, has racing pads, and you can lap really hard with it. If you really are hard on the brakes and you're just like abusive with the brakes, you will overheat the brakes. So it does really need brake ducts at some point. If you just back off the braking a little bit, you can make it stretch a 30-minute section. But someone like Mark or Gary, they're not gonna be able to do that. So, which one? I was just driving today. S3 60,000 miles, oil's 6,000 miles. Deep changing it tomorrow. However, I get a low oil pressure light. Any ideas on what it is? I restarted the car and it went away.
I have a low oil pressure. No, that's an impossible to diagnose thing.
Yeah, there's no way
given the information. So, you can check for. You should probably have a fault code for that in the engine module. You can see what the freeze frame was and the conditions around it. I think it'll show you what there. So those motors have a variable fuel or variable oil pressure relief switch on them. If it's outside of its mapped range, like it's trying to request the high pressure, mode of the pump, and you're only getting low, or vice versa, you can get faults like that. So that it could be something as simple as that. It could be something like we saw a motor here recently where somebody had resealed it with a mountain of RTV around the pan. Some of that RTV was internal and got plugged up in the inlet of the oil pump. So
Nate's right. It could. It's probably justified for you to do a deeper inspection.
You want to find the cause. It's not something you want to just wait until the light's on all the time.
But even if the oil is full, if what Nate said is true, then you could destroy your motor. You can do a quick look on that and see if there's like silicone sealant squeezing out from your oil pan or something that would be a cause for concern. But given the fact that low oil pressure means a destroyed engine,
very bad things quickly.
It's worth a deeper look, but we wouldn't be able to say much with what we know. A saluti from Italy. Salute. I have Audi 1.8 TT 8S 1.8 TFSI engine code CJSA. I'm running catless downpipe and upgraded intake. I'd really love to have a tune of yours. There's a possibility you can do that. So we are working on right now a 1.8 TFSI tune for that generation. I'm not sure if ours will be exactly compatible with your Italian version, but this is on the horizon. Please don't ask us every week when it will be done, but we are working on 1.8T stuff. A lot of update questions. B9 3.0, any safety checks, maintenance, or anything to do before TCU tune? All-wheel drive checks, any weak spots in the AL552 or torsion all-wheel drive? Is it normal for torsion to grind a bit on a cold half-tight turns? Torsons are noisy, especially they can be a little noisy, especially when you're doing tight turns.
If it's the sport diff, you can certainly hear that a little bit if you're at full lock.
I don't know about grinding. And,
Yeah, this is one of those subjective things we'd have to.
but if it's kind of more of a groan, I would say that's relatively normal.
B9s, you can feel it with the steering wheel.
Yeah, you get
like
a little
skips.
hitching. It's
Mhm.
like a
Yeah,
like a limited slip.
That's
kind
how
of
it's
feel.
always been, even on the older cars. And the tighter you turn, the bigger the rotational differential between the inside and outside tire. So the torsion has to work really hard in that condition. Either the center diff or if you have a torsion in the rear. So that kind of the gears in the torsion load up and are redistributing torque and trying to equalize, the torque between the two wheels. So it can get a little noisy. Certainly, like in what the old days when you can lock the diffs, it'll hitch and make all kinds of noise. You're not, like Audi says in the manual, you're not supposed to turn on high traction surfaces with the diffs locked.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than I don't know if you mentioned, just fluid and filter services. We typically 40,000 miles or so is our normal.
It's a good idea.
Normal range.
Audi calls it lifetime.
Yeah, Audi calls the fluids lifetime, but that is not the case that we've ever seen for both DSG and automatic transmissions.
ZF says specifically 40K for that
The
transmission.
ZF's recommend 40K, but yeah, even the DSGs we do same. I think the maintenance on those is 75 or something from the factory.
After getting a tune from another company, my oil temps are much higher than usual. Would that be the same case if I switch to 034, DAZA RS3 Stage 1 flash tune, no hardware?
It's impossible to answer as well. I don't know what your normal was and what kind of conditions you're in now. I mean, if you're driving it hard, like you did stock, bringing it out or something, and their temps are higher, yeah, you're making more load, but
it's possible though that the tuning changed.
You can change
the thermostat.
Thermostatic targets for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like Nate said, stuff like this always has to be qualified. Are you comparing like conditions?
Yeah.
Are you isolating variables that would contribute to? You can't compare a stock car cruising on the freeway to your tuned car ripping one gear after the other over and over again. But given that it's probably colder now than it was before, I don't know. So, anyways, I mean, I can say that there is no oil temp issues with our tuning,
right?
And we would assure you that the oil temp performance would be functional and proper for what it needs to be with our tuning, which has been on the market for 5 years and proven time and time, time tested.
Yep.
So we'd love to have you. We do have a switching discounts, and then you could even do logs, send it to us to evaluate, have access to our SPI mobile app, all that good stuff, and on sale currently. Thanks to our Winterfest sale. So you would not only get the sale price, but also the switching discount. Is there going to be a roll and launch control for the Golf R 7.5 tune with the 6 MT?
Yeah.
Like ALC.
No, I know. I'm trying to think of where we were at with the development on that. It is in the works. It is not that much different than what we have already done on the CMOS 8 stuff under the hood. We have talked about it. I don't have a roadmap for it, so I don't want to promise anything.
Check out the one at the top. But...
Yep.
Just did the ECU TCU on my 2020 Q8. Thank you. Awesome.
Great.
This is a brand new application we just released last week for the 4M.5 Q8,
Q7
and Q7. The Q8's 4M.5 too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They only move on.
Yeah. No, it's basically the newer version. And it's interesting. The Q8's just a 5-seat Q7 with a little, different body on it. Let's see. I don't know anything else here that.
Maybe this one.
B9.5 RS5 Stage 2 Plus with TCU patch. Just switched flash to E85. My first tank. My ethanol content sensor has been reading right at E60, about 20 miles or so in. Had about 10 to 15 miles to empty of 93 in the tank before filling up. Is the lower end of the E60 to 85 range common on E85 pump gas? I'm assuming as long as it doesn't drop significantly below E60, I'm still safe to run the file.
Yeah, you want to keep it at E60 or above. That 10 to 15 miles of range in the tank is likely why you're seeing a lower content.
It should
another
bump up.
another fill up or two. Let it run down and then another fill up. It'll come up. It doesn't take a lot of 93 left in the tank to pull that ratio down.
Out here where we're at locally, everything basically is E80.
Yeah, we hit E80 on the nose almost everywhere we go.
So it's possible other places are lower. I think E60 is
pretty low.
On E63.
Really?
In the winter. In August it was 74. So it can change.
So it could be the winter blend. You'll probably, like Nate said, probably end up closer to 65.
If you had range left on the gauge and then pumped in and you haven't pumped any more ethanol since, it'll probably go up still from there.
Let's see. Headers versus test pipe for 3.0T.
There's a little bit in it on like the really high end of the
Well, we saw a benefit with the Merc Racing supercharger, but on the stock stuff,
it's going to be pretty.
On the stock supercharger, it's small.
Top end, we saw anything. We censored it out, did back pressure monitoring on.
You would see the maximum benefit with a test pipe, right, compared to a header on a stock blower.
Maximum benefit with a test. Oh, I mean, essentially, yeah. I mean, I
like compared to a stock cat.
Yeah, we'd have to do more discrete testing to give you numbers, but yes.
We're nearing the end of time.
Yep.
If you want to hit that one.
03 team, if I'm near your office, can I stop by and say hello from East Coast Masshole? Oh, Masshole. We are not currently open to the public. However, if you'd like to reach out to our marketing team, we'd love to meet with anyone who's in the area who would like to stop by. We'd be happy to give you a tour. You can always just drop in to our service department, and they are relatively open to the public, so you can come in and say hi. But definitely reach out to us. You can email us on social at 034motorsport.com. Just because the door is not it's a closed facility, but just because the door is not unlocked and open for anyone to walk in doesn't mean that we wouldn't love to meet you and show you around and give you that experience. Certainly if you're around on Saturday, that's a great time to come by as well. But don't hesitate to reach out. And we'd love to set up a tour for you. But it needs to be kind of by appointment.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're pretty much out of time.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Sorry about not having Instagram up today. Literally sat there waiting for it to come online. We were streaming to their servers. They were not doing anything with it. So
they might have to update the name to Delaygram.
Yep.
Delay gradagram. Yep. All right. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you hopefully this weekend.
Oh, yeah. And hopefully this weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take care.